Hey there, folks. Welcome to the Whitfield Report, Thursday edition on Friday. I want to thank you so much for joining me here in the past, present, future hour, whenever you may be listening to this episode. And, yeah. So, anyway, long story short, folks. I had recorded this podcast on Thursday, and I was going to post it on Thursday night. But then, in the midst of recording the episode for Thursday, the app on my iPad that I used to, that I used to record podcasts, it crashed. Because as you guys know, I usually record the Thursday podcast from my iPad. It just makes it easier and more streamlined to produce audio-only podcasts that way. Unless I'm having a guest or something. Usually it works like 9 out of, 10 times. But this was the 10th time where the app crashed, and so because of that, I lost my complete recording, and I was tired last night, and I just didn't want to, record it all over again, because it was going to be Friday anyway by the time I posted it. So I went to bed, and now I'm here, doing this, doing this Thursday podcast on Friday for you guys. So apologies for the delay, although I did post an episode on Wednesday, so hopefully you guys, got that. That was the Tuesday stream that I did, and then I posted the podcast of that on Wednesday. Anyway, contact info as usual. If you would like to reach out to the podcast, you can follow me on Twitter at SamW_NDC. You can also follow me over there on Instagram at SamW_NDC. Hashtag Whitfield Report. Also follow the podcast on Twitter at Whitfield Report. TheSamWhitfield.com is my website. Of course, you can follow the Facebook page at Facebook.com/Whitfield Report. Obviously, you guys are already listening to this on the audio podcast feed, so if you're on Apple Podcasts, as always, please go ahead and give us a 5-star rating and review over there. And, if you're on Spotify or Stitcher or any of those platforms, feel free to give me a good rating and review over there if you can. I don't know if you can on Spotify, but if you can give feedback over there, please do. And, of course, please tell your friends about the podcast, as always, I really appreciate you guys helping me grow the show and supporting this independent yet, still growing steady podcast. Alright, folks, so Thursday, as you guys know, is the pop culture review show, and I have some stuff to review, but I'm going to do things a little bit different this week, because as the episode title suggests, this is the November streaming wars period that we're in now, folks. Lots of things happening across lots of different streaming platforms, plus 2 new streaming platforms are entering the game completely for the first time. So on Netflix this weekend, I believe we have the Martin Scorsese film The Irishman coming out on Netflix, and that's supposed to be really good. We have BoJack Horseman, the final season of that animated series, on Netflix. I've never done a full review of that show, but I have mentioned it on Twitter before, and I really do like that show. It's very funny and very clever and witty. So those two things are on Netflix. Over on Amazon, we have the second season of Jack Ryan, based off of the Tom Clancy books. I really liked the first season of that show, and Amazon is really killing it in terms of streaming too. Now we have two newcomers to the streaming game. Two completely new platforms that are that have launched this month, and by the time you hear this podcast, the second one could be launched. So last Friday, today is the 8th, so on the 4th, or no, on the 1st of November. So last week, Apple launched their new TV subscription service, their streaming TV platform called Apple TV Plus, which I'll go to here in a minute. And then we've got Disney launching Disney Plus on the 12th of November. So in just a few days. Now, the big news so far has been around Disney Plus. We've been hearing a lot about them really for the past 2 years, if you've been following anything in the world of, TV or entertainment. Disney is releasing Disney Plus. It's a service which will host the Disney Library, the MCU, franchise and all of its movie properties, plus original series from Marvel. Plus you have ESPN and National Geographic, Star Wars and its, extended universe too. And now that Disney has also acquired Fox, we'll be getting the Fox lineup added soon too. Not sure if that's going to be on launch, but it's going to be on there eventually later this year, I think. So everyone is talking about how, Disney Plus is going to take on Netflix, and there are some people who are, thinking that this is going to be the end of an era for Netflix, that Disney Plus is going to completely kick their ass and, take names. And I wouldn't be so sure about that. Simply because Netflix has been around for so long, and they were really the first ones to do a on-demand, video content streaming platform with original series, keep in mind, folks, Netflix as a streaming service has not been around for all that long when you think about it. It's only been around for 6 or 7 years. Like, I was a junior in high school when Netflix started their streaming service, and if you remember, obviously the older audience members, those in their 20s and older will remember that Netflix, when we were growing up, was a DVD rental service by mail. And they were floundering as a company, for years and years and years, and they were close to going out of business. They came out with the streaming model that we now know, and no one thought it was going to do real well because, who wants to watch movies on their laptop, right? Or on their phone? Everyone wants to watch TV on, TV. But then that was also right around the time when smart TVs and, smart TV-like devices like the Apple TV and, the Amazon Fire, box or sticker, in the Roku. That's when all of those, devices started coming out. So the smart TV era started to become a thing, so Netflix was in a good position to kind of help launch that whole thing. And, now, as it turns out, people actually do watch TV on their laptops and on their phones and on their iPads, me included. Right? So, Netflix was a huge revolution, and, no one originally thought it would succeed. And now it's kind of the standard, so to speak, right? Well, Amazon jumped on that bandwagon about like a year or two later, and what they've done with Amazon Prime Video is actually pretty smart, because they've bundled the Amazon Prime Video with Amazon Prime and that whole service. So, basically, as most of you know, you buy Amazon Prime, it's like $100 a year. It's only $39 a year if you're a student like me, though. So I suppose there are some advantages to being a college student, and that's one of them. You get free 2-day shipping. You get unlimited music, which I don't use the Amazon Music. I use Apple Music, but it's nice that I have the option as a student to use Amazon Music if I wanted to. But most of my library is, in iTunes and on Apple Music anyway. That aside, you have Prime for free shipping, you have music streaming, and then you have Amazon Prime Video. And so they have really good series on there. My favorite, of course, is Bosch. That series with Titus Welliver, based off the Michael Conley novels. Amazon Prime, it's interesting. They've really been the powerhouse, kind of network in terms of original series to adapt novels and book series like Bosch into TV shows. And it kind of makes sense in movies. And it kind of makes sense because, Amazon back in the 90s was basically seen as like an online bookstore. So they've always sold books, right? And now they sell, everything. They basically sell everything under the sun, including this mic that I'm recording from. I got that off Amazon. So there's Amazon Prime, there's Netflix. Now we have Disney Plus entering the fray. That's obviously going to be a success, I think, because you're getting an amazing value of Marvel, Star Wars, Net Geo, Fox, and of course the Disney, property itself, the Disney brand. All for $7, bucks a month. So it's a really good deal. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they turn out. The one TV streaming provider that people were a little shocked when they first announced it was Apple TV Plus. But I have to tell you, it actually makes a lot of sense that Apple would be launching a TV streaming service, and that they already have it. Here's why. Because they've actually been hosting video and movie content for a long time online. Right in 2003, we had the launch of the iTunes store to sell music. You could buy music off of, iTunes, and you have been able to, since 2003. So, for almost 18 years now, you've been able to do that. Then in 2004, a year later, once the iPod video came out, that was when they started selling videos and, movies and TV shows on the iTunes store. And believe it or not, people actually, bought iPod videos and bought movies and shows and watched them on their iPods. I actually have a funny story about that. My best friend and I, when we were in middle school, we actually bonded and became best friends because he and I would watch episodes of South Park on his iPod during his study hall period in middle school, and we would pretend to do, we would pretend to study, but we would actually watch South Park, and we would be like giggling. I don't know how we got away with it, but we did. So good times. But yeah, Apple's been in that game in terms of like hosting, I guess, video and TV shows on iTunes, for a long time for other networks. So when they announced that they were going to, be launching a TV streaming service themselves, I think at first everyone was really taken by surprise, including me. I was kind of like, well, it makes sense that they would be, going in for, Apple Music, obviously, to compete with Spotify and, because they've been having iTunes. So obviously Apple Music makes sense. Apple Arcade, I've actually done like a written review of that on my blog. I think Apple Arcade is a tremendous value for the money, considering that it's only $5 a month and you get like unlimited games on all your iOS devices, right? They have, Apple magazines, which, admittedly, that's like, no one really liked that, even me. Like, I like the idea behind it, but of unlimited magazines, but the way they've executed it is, it's still got work to do, and it's still pretty poorly designed and not worth the money quite yet. Apple TV Plus is really, I think it's actually pretty good so far from what I've seen, and I've only watched one show on there so far, which I'll get to in just a sec. But I think Apple TV Plus is actually going to be a huge success, hopefully. Maybe not with the critics, but everyone I've talked to who is, an average person like you and I, they all really like the, the Apple TV Plus series for right now. The series that I started watching is one called The Morning Show. And that's kind of the series that Apple TV Plus has really been marketing pretty hard, in their promos so far. That and the show C with Jason Momoa, which I haven't watched that one yet, but I'm going to this weekend, and maybe I'll do a review of that next week. But The Morning Show is interesting because it has Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, and Reese Witherspoon, right? All of whom will really have really always been known for like comedic, acting in their careers, and they've all been really successful in that genre. And, the morning show, that sounds like the title of like a 90s sitcom, right? But it's actually kind of like a drama, like a character study drama. And it's about basically like a fictionalized version of Good Morning America, or think like, yeah, Good Morning America, one of America's like top rated, nationally syndicated morning shows. And one of the hosts, Steve Carell, who is the male host, gets fired from his job because of the Me Too scandal. He gets outed, and a woman blows the whistle on him. But all of the activity that he was involved in was consensual. The women even acknowledge it. But because it's the Me Too era, he still gets outed, and it's a big scandal. So because that Jennifer Aniston, who was his co-host on the show, or I guess former co-host, is forced to deal with the fallout of that whole thing. And Reese Witherspoon is an up-and-coming journalist who is actually, I'm not kidding, folks, she's portrayed as like a conservative libertarian type on the program, and it actually is a pretty good portrayal. They don't parody to her. They don't try and make her look stupid, or anything like that. They actually do a pretty good job of portraying everyone pretty equally in that show. So obviously they go into Me Too, but the way they do it, they go into what the obvious benefits are of Me Too, obviously outing creeps like Harvey Weinstein, right? The worst of the worst. But then they also do acknowledge kind of how Me Too, the second and third wave, have become sort of a witch hunt. So they really look at Me Too from multiple sides of, the conversation, the good and the bad and the ugly. And they also talk about media a lot, and how legacy media, cable news and newspapers, are dying off. And it's a good show. And by the way, I'm not spoiling too much because in these first 3 episodes that they launched last week, they really just scratched the surface of what the show is about. But it's very well done, and I recommend it so far. And this kind of brings my point back to Apple TV Plus. Apple TV Plus actually seems to be doing shows that are kind of outside the traditional Hollywood narrative of storytelling, with some very big voices. So, with some very big names and very big voices, as well. They have the morning show, right, with Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, and Reese Witherspoon. Steven Spielberg's got a show on there that's going to be like science fiction based. That's pretty interesting. And we haven't seen that yet. They have the Sea, science fiction drama with Jason Momoa. And they're adding a couple others on there too. The reason I bring up Apple TV Plus specifically is everyone is kind of thinking that Apple TV Plus is going to be a failure, and that Netflix is going to, start to falter, because Disney now has their own streaming service, and because of that, they're just going to crush everyone. Well, we don't know that for sure, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, Netflix has been around for a long time, and I guarantee you that they've most likely prepared for, the stiff competition with Disney. They've held their own with Amazon, too. Amazon's not going anywhere either. Neither is HBO Go. I forgot to mention HBO Go. They have their streaming service, but I mean, in terms of like content creation, it's all HBO. It's all HBO shows anyway. So there's nothing real like in terms of original new content exclusive to the streaming platform. But I think it's going to be very interesting because we have like 4 or 5 big contenders out there now with Netflix, Amazon, Disney Plus, Apple Plus, and HBO Go. Those seem to be the big contenders for streaming television right now. And it will be very interesting to see where these platforms go in the future. And, most importantly, I'm curious to see if Apple TV Plus, lasts in the long run. Many people are, well, I wouldn't say many, but there are a few, there's a handful of people out there who think it's going to be a flop. And once again, Disney is just going to obliterate them and Netflix both. But, it's a great time for streaming TV, folks. I think cable and terrestrial television, it's on its way out. I don't think it's going to be a thing in 15 years. At least not for shows and whatnot. I do believe that there will always be a form of television in some way for those who want to watch, sports and, live events. But now, everyone's getting their news on the web and their news shows on the web, and everyone's watching their shows on streaming platforms anyway. So that seems to be the new way things are going for television. And so because all these different platforms are either launching completely in November, or some of the older ones like Netflix and Amazon are releasing new shows in November, it's going to be a very interesting month to see how all of these different platforms perform with each other and compete. So if you're investing in any of these platforms, you're for sure gonna wanna watch and see what's going on. Literally, it'll be quite interesting. So my recommendation for sure in terms of series for this week is The Morning Show. At first when I read that there was going to be a Me Too premise, I was concerned that it was going to be like really overly feminist, that they were really going to play up. But like I said, they've actually looked at the Me Too thing in a fairly objective light, which is why I think it's getting controversial reviews, because obviously the entertainment media is pretty far left, and so they're, of course, all about Me Too, being pretty pro Me Too, and they want all the men out of, the entertainment industry, and all the men out of the workforce, period, probably. So, that's my recommendation in terms of series. I haven't watched episode 3 of Watchmen yet. I'm going to do that. But, at this point, like I've said before with the Watchmen series, I go back and forth on it. But I will watch that and probably do catch up on that next week. In terms of music recommendations for this week, I've been listening to a great movie soundtrack for the movie Motherless Brooklyn with Bruce Willis and Edward Norton. I haven't actually seen the movie that yet. I want to though. It's like a murder mystery kind of like film noir thriller set in 1950s Brooklyn. And as you guys know, I'm a big fan of LA Confidential and anything in the film noir genre. So I am going to maybe go see Motherless Brooklyn next week. So, but there's no guarantee of that, obviously, and hopefully I'll have a review of that for you guys as well. So, alright, folks. I know this podcast is a little short for the Thursday show, but like I said, I tried doing a show last night and it got deleted, so I did want to do this review of kind of all the different streaming platforms and let you know what's going on with them. So, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this, Thursday podcast, as short as it may be. And I will be back tomorrow, Saturday evening, for the Whitfield Report live stream. And I'll be having Jimmy from England on, and we'll be talking about the results of Brexit tomorrow. So I've got to, schedule that with him, the exact time for tomorrow. But it will be tomorrow. And then, we've got a 3-day weekend, folks. So look forward to that. And anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so very much for tuning into the podcast. And thank you for being patient with me. And as always, thank you for supporting the show. I love each and every one of you who tunes in and supports the show. One last thing before I go. I haven't done this yet, but in the coming week, I will be putting together a survey for listeners and viewers of the Whitfield Report and its YouTube channel. And I want your feedback on the show in general. So I will have that survey out for you in general here very soon. Hopefully it won't take too long for you guys to fill out. But I will have that for you shortly. And folks, that'll do it. Like I said, short show. But I really want to thank you for listening. And folks, from all of us here at NGC Studios, God bless, God save this great nation, God, freedom, legacy, in that order. And I will see you for the live podcast on Saturday night. God bless, ladies and gentlemen, and take care of yourself. Hey there, folks. If you've made it this far to the end of the podcast, I'd like to thank you very much for listening to the show. You are the ones that make it possible for me to make an income from podcasting, and I greatly appreciate that just by listening to our show. You are helping us gain ad revenue. However, if you would really like to help support the show, I encourage you to please donate to the podcast and become a supporter of the show. You can head over to anchor.fm/Whitfield Report and click the support this podcast button and choose the amount that suits you to support the show. Or you can click the link in the show notes and it will directly take you to that page. If you can support the podcast, I really, really appreciate that. Anything that you can do to help out is greatly appreciated. Even if you can't afford to help financially support the podcast, I encourage you to please go on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or Stitcher and please leave this podcast a positive 5-star review. That really helps us out here at the Whitfield Report. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next episode.